Welcome back to another episode of Art of MMA. I'm your host, Mike Ginn. Joining me this week are two people that probably won't let me get a word in edgewise. So I'm going to try to make this intro as long as humanly possible. Of course, I'm talking about the mechanic, Brandon Cuttino. Brandon, how are you on this Victory Wednesday?
You know what it is. Giants get a W. It's a good day. It's a good day.
And all the way across the pond, somebody who probably doesn't even give a crap about the NFL. Of course, I'm talking about Calf Kick Sports and member of the Fighters First Network, Tim Wheaton. Tim, how are you, buddy?
Hanging out, the usual stuff. How are y'all doing today?
Doing fantastic. I like how they pretend like they haven't seen each other all day, but you'll notice tomorrow on the next episode of Kickin' It with Tim and the Mechanic, which drops on the Fighters First Network tomorrow. So make sure you check that out. This week we got a lot to cover. Of course, we're talking about possibly the last fight ever for Fedor. We'll see. Some of us think yes, some of us think no. We'll talk about that. Of course, we'll talk about everything that happened at UFC Vegas 41, both leading up to the fight and the actual fight itself, which was actually, surprisingly, a really great fight. So we'll talk about that. We'll get into the news, and then we'll break down and give previews and picks for the upcoming PFL 21 championships, which does come out tonight. So we'll try to get this episode out as fast as possible so you can get our thoughts on it before it happens. And then, of course, this weekend, the big pay-per-view, UFC 267, two titles on the line, most notably Blachowicz and Teixeira in the main event. But, of course, none of that is possible without the Fighters First shop, Fighters First Network. We bring you all this great content. Go over to Fighters First shop, support everything we're doing. We got the brand new Kickin' It shirt with Tim and the Mechanic on that one. We got all the shirts for Art of MMA. You got Cage My IQ, of course, Unfiltered, which we have another great episode coming to you this Friday. I'm rocking the Art of MMA logo shirt. Brandon's got the hoodie. Tim's got a one shirt under there. I know you can't see it, but at least it's MMA related. Maybe it's kickboxing related. I'm not really sure anymore. But screw all that. Let's get to the show. I know I said on the rundown we were going to start off with UFC Vegas 41, but I actually want to start off with possibly the last dance for the last emperor. Talking about Vegas, I almost said Vegas. Bellator 269, Emelianenko versus Johnson. Fedor with the knockout, possibly a greatest way to walk off into the sunset. Tim, you're our guest. What did you think of the fight? And tell the fans at home what happened.
Fedor is one of my first favorites. He was the first MMA fighter I ever bought a T-shirt of. And I still own that shirt. They sent me a Bellator press conference invite for being on with Fedor, and I put on the shirt. And I was like, man, I'm going to ask him about ice cream and stuff. But I never got to ask him the question. But yeah.
All right, CM Punk.
The thing is that I wasn't excited for this fight on paper. But once we started getting to the lead up, we had the walkout. He was in Moscow. It kind of got to me. I just became a mark for this fight. And his last fight was in Saitama in Tokyo, Japan. It was against Rampage. This fight is in Moscow. His entire team won. Khabib was in the audience. He got a first-round knockout. It would have been a good way to send off a career with those two wins. Like a win in Tokyo and a win in Moscow. Just retire on that.
You sound like you don't believe he's walking off.
No, he's basically said, I feel fine. I'll take another fight. But the thing is, there's no good fight for him. If you're giving him a quality opponent, he's going to lose. And I have no doubt about that. And I even mean Vitor Belfort, I think, would beat him. You know what I mean? You really do have to give him pretty much some top 100 heavyweight if you want to get him win. And, Bellator can find some guy. But yeah, I think he's going to take at least one more fight. But I would love if this was the last one.
It kind of sounds like Anderson Silva when his fight contract was up with UFC and they're like, so is this it? And he was like, yeah, maybe. I feel good. Brandon, we talked about it last week. We talked about the kind of the handpicking of the opponent, but out of the options he was given, Junior Dos Santos, Alistair Overeem, Tim Johnson at the time was the only one who'd won recent fights. Like the other guys had all been on losing streaks. So it was the best of a group that had accolades, but they weren't recent. What did you think of this fight?
And
by the way, neither one of you yet sorry, I know Brandon might, but Tim, you didn't even talk about the knockout the whole time you said that whole thing. Go ahead, man.
So like I said last week, I picked Fedor. I thought Fedor was going to win this. Why? Because he did pick the fight. But also too is because yes, you picked Tim Johnson. Yes, he's on a winning streak. It looks good for the masses. It's not like he's picking just some bum, off the streets, somebody who has a winning record. Guy has a name, but as we saw in the fight, Fedor has the hand speed. He got those fast hands. Those combinations was working, and that's what he did to give him the knockout. I mean, basically, like the fight started, they circled around, and then basically the hands were flying. We didn't even need the judges. We didn't need the second round or anything like that. This fight was over in the first round because Fedor got that hand speed. And like I said, man, hey, maybe it could have been the travel for Tim Johnson that could have thrown him off. You know, different time zones, everything like that. But like I said, Fedor had the hand speed. You know, that's that. I mean, that's kind of been Fedor's thing through his whole career. Is usually like with these heavyweights, he usually has the faster hands. He has the hand speed, you know, to fight these guys off. Like that's one of his advantages. Like say he might not be the biggest heavyweight, but because he's a smaller guy, he has that hand speed.
I mean, it's all about those counter punches. Like he caught him up the middle, caught that hook. I'm surprised, you know, Tim's Mr. Check left hook. Like, so I'm surprised he didn't jump all over the hook. But and I also have a question. Don't let me off the hook this week. Speaking of hooks, pun intended. Don't let me off the week because Tim, I want to break down later on the difference between a hook and a check hook. Because as the casual fan, I'm so tired of people saying check hook, and I'm like, it's just a freaking hook. But anyway, we'll get to that later on. Fedor did what Fedor was supposed to do. It was like almost the reverse of Rocky IV. You know, he comes into Moscow. He's at home. The Americans coming to like stir it up, and this time the American went home basically in a body bag because he was knocked out completely cold. Tim Johnson is a very tough, very strong heavyweight UFC fighter. He's been doing it for a very long time. He's been in Bellator now, winning fights. He's been around the world fighting, so it's not like he fought some nobody, especially in Bellator. Tim Johnson has had a hell of a run. He lost his last fight before this, but before that, I think it was like 4 or 5 straight wins. So it's not like he picked a bum, but at that same token, it was a good opponent for Fedor to go out on if he chooses to go out because he couldn't beat Bader. He couldn't beat Mitrione. He couldn't beat some of these guys who were slightly younger, slightly faster, and maybe even slightly stronger. So to fight a guy like Tim Johnson, who's around his age range, who's around his, you know, skill level almost, where Fedor actually is the faster fighter, like Brandon said, I think it was a good matchup. I think it was a great way to walk off into the sunset. I agree with everybody else. I don't think he's done. I think he's going to find another reason to step back in that cage. And maybe it will be in Moscow again because they drew pretty good numbers for that fight. So maybe they'll come back to Moscow and do it one more time against another opponent. Maybe it will be Junior Dos Santos or somebody this time. We'll see.
One, I don't think he will fight in Moscow again because he kind of said this was the fight where he was like the most nervous. I think he said he would rather fight over in the States because it's less pressure than him fighting in his home country. And then 2, I think the person that he should fight, which is the first person that he should have fought anyway, when they said this fight, should be Josh Barnett. Josh Barnett's doing nothing, man. He's just doing blood sport. He's doing wrestling right now. But Josh Barnett is the person who people really want him to fight. So, I mean, I want to say I think Josh Barnett is still on the roster. So I don't know why they don't just run
sure if he is or not.
Yeah.
I'll throw another aging fighter out there too, Czech Congo. That'd be a fun fight. Maybe
will it be a fun fight? I mean, I love Czech Congo. I love the darkness, but will it be a fun fight?
Yeah, because you probably still pick Czech Congo to win. Anyway,
I would still pick Czech Congo.
How about I'll throw another meme at you guys. How about Mariusz Pudzianowski? How about that one for a final fight?
Ooh-wee.
We're trying to name people know at home, Tim.
Okay, hey, they know.
I mean, it's actually a really good choice. And I'm joking. It's a good choice, but it's not going to drive the numbers up for the casual fan tuning in to see another of what could be Fedor's last fight. You know what I'm saying? And I think if we're not going to do it in Moscow, maybe run it back to Japan, kind of do like run into the Pride, into the days in Pride. So that's another option. The co-main event, though, Brandon, you and I both got wrong. We picked former champion Minakov to win, and it was a weird, funky situation. There was a finger injury. Brandon, tell people at home what happened in that fight.
So, I mean, well, first off, this actually was a little bit of a closer fight than what I thought. Like, I really thought Minakov won the first round. Then the second round, he didn't take it. But then the third round was a toss-up. But I still kind of think he was still kind of winning that round. But basically what happened was, like I said, he hurt it. He hurt his finger. It basically kind of got dislocated. And I know he was trying to pop it back in, but it just wouldn't pop back in, and the ref saw it. So the ref kind of had to make a judgment call, and he was like, "Hey, he had to stop it." Like I think if it was going from the second round into the third round, where he's like in his corner, he has that minute to kind of do it. I think maybe he would have been all right, with his finger. But it's like I said, it's the ref's position is to protect the fighter. So he thought he couldn't with his finger the way how it was. He was like, "Hey, we have to stop the fight." Just kind of like what happened with the CFFC, where the guy.
Hold up. I was just about to make a joke about that, because Pelé fought through a finger that was missing. I mean, it was in his glove the whole time, but it was pretty much ripped off and missing, and he didn't stop fighting. So I'm just saying, a dislocated finger, not quite.
But did the ref see it though? That's what I'm saying. The CFC,
nobody saw it. Nobody knew where it went. Tim, what you think of this fight?
So I was, you know what? This was opposite KSW and Glory, so I didn't actually watch this fight. However, I did watch. I was covering the Keteg Kliev fight from CFFC when he lost the finger. I was covering that one live, and that was a lot of fun because no one knew where the finger went, and they made announcements in the arena of like, if you've seen the finger, please find some security because we'll come get the finger from you. But yeah, I think this one, if you call a timeout and it's not an illegal thing, you almost have to. Like, did the fighter call the timeout, or was it the referee that called the timeout? The referee called the timeout because his finger was dislocated.
Yeah, the ref saw it kind of like hanging, and he was just like, what's going on? Let me check this out. Get the doctor involved, and the doctor kind of stopped it.
But a fighter presumably could continue. Kedeb Pliev, who lost his finger in CFFC, he was, I think he was on the Canadian Olympic wrestling team, and he had professional boxing experience. Yeah. He's an experienced fighter. So, but I don't see why, like, if you dislocated your finger, I think it happens in fighting quite a bit. I think Brandon's right. I think this was just a ref and doctor decision because I don't think Minnikov wanted to stop. He didn't look like he wanted to stop. It was just an awkward situation. I'm sure they'll run this fight back as soon as he has surgery on his hand or whatever and fixes it or it naturally heals. The thing with Pelé was a lot weird. I mean, we can joke about it now because his finger is attached and he's fine. But it was such a just awkward situation that it instantly sends back flashbacks of that. But it was just a weird situation. Also on the card, reason why Khabib was actually probably in the crowd more than just having Fedor. Usman Nurmagomedov got the submission over Patalia. Also, Tokov got the win over. This is what I have Tim on the show. Say his name. Davla Muradov. Davlat. Ooh, that's a good one.
That is a good one. When we were going over this card last week, I was like just looking at Brandon. I was just like, man, I can't say half of these names. Sadelnikov got the win over Truesdale by TKO. Sidora got the win over Mazdiak. TKO. Arena Alexieva got the win over Page by decision. Mikhailov got the win over Brian Moore by decision. Shurkovich got the win over Bosnian by knockout, and Aiden Lee over Ostrov by submission. Tim, I'll start with you. Any of those other fights really kind of stand out to you?
Yeah, I'll quickly rip on to Stephanie Page was the one who beat that 500-pound guy, right? That was her. That was a good fight.
She did better against the 500-pound guy than she did against Alexieva.
Oh, how weird is that? It's almost like one of them was real and one of them wasn't. How weird is that? So Usman Nurmagomedov, he 23 years old, haven't had an amateur career, and they're just kind of throwing any warm body they can find. Like, I think I'm almost qualified to fight him at this point. I don't know what to do with him because he's so clearly ahead of everyone that he's fighting. He's so far ahead of these guys, but I don't know if giving him a top 10 or top 5 is pushing him too quick. You need to find someone who's in the top 15 who would be a good fit for a developing fighter. You don't want to throw him to the wolves too fast, but he's probably not gaining anything from these experienced fights, right? What do you think of the Usman fight?
So it kind of reminds me of Magomedov, who's like running through everybody over in KSW and ACB and all these other leagues. And other than Peter Yan, he hadn't really fought anybody. He looked like a world beater his first like couple Bellator fights, and then all of a sudden he fights a top contender and didn't even look close. He lost easily. I worry about something happening like that, but then at the same time, and Brandon and I have talked about this as well, Khabib's undefeated as a coach. Like Khabib,
that's true,
as a fighter and as a coach. So it doesn't really matter who he's fighting. It's because who he fights in camp. You know, he's fighting all these top guys in camp. So when they come over and they fight a Patrick Patela, no disrespect to Patrick, but he hasn't been. And I'll tell you what, we even go over to Crossing Borders, the other show we have, Alex Soto. Alex trained over there in Bahrain with a lot of the Dagestani guys before Brave was launched. And he tells me all the time, there's a difference between American wrestling, MMA wrestling, and Dagestani wrestling. And that Dagestani wrestling is just on a whole nother level because there's no quit. There's drive through the takedown. There's no like, oh, well, he did this, so I'm going to adjust my stance. No, they have such a bear mentality that they're like wrestling bears for real. And that they have to finish the takedown or they'll get mauled. And then you get into a cage with a human being. What are you going to do? And so it's just a different kind of mindset. Brandon, what other fights on this card kind of stood out for you?
You know me, man. Like I told you, I had my eye on the ladies' fight. Like say, I know you talked about the one lady fight with Stephanie Page, but the other one was the Zadora versus Madzyak. Madzyak.
It's not just me.
Yeah. I mean, this was a good fight by Zadora. I actually didn't think she was gonna win this fight from the beginning, but she came out, did her thing. You know, she really kind of controlled it. You know, from start to finish, in my opinion.
Yeah, getting the TKO in the second round. For me, the big thing was I don't think Tokov won that split decision. I know he got the decision over Sharaf, but I was like, I thought he lost a couple of those rounds. So very close fight. Could have gone either way, but Anatoly Tokov got the win on that one. Not sure he should have. And we also kind of mentioned it last week. Aiden Lee, he's kind of one of those people they're pushing up the prospect list. He got the rear naked choke in the first round as well. So that's Bellator 269. Let's move our attention over to UFC Vegas 41. Costa versus Vettori. The fight ended up being phenomenal, but we really didn't even know we were going to get the fight throughout the entire week. Shortly after we got off the air last week, it was like Costa weighs in at like 211 pounds. And we were like, I had told Brandon off air for weeks. I'm like, this fight is not going to happen. I talked to Dan Baker from Cage My IQ. I was like, Costa does not want this fight. He's still in shock from the Izzy fight. He pulled out of the Whitaker fights. He pulled out of the Cannonier fight. He started crying about money. He said he had the flu, but then all of a sudden it was COVID, post-COVID symptoms. He had so many different things going on. And I'm not saying all of them were not real, but you kind of saw his mannerisms. And he was like, well, if he doesn't want to agree to a catch weight, then I guess, the fight's canceled because Vettori doesn't want to fight. Like he tried to flip it the whole week on Vettori when he was the one that came in for a contracted 185-pound fight. If he couldn't make 185 pounds, tell Vettori 3-4 weeks ago, I'm sure he would have cruised into 205 just like he did. He ended up showing up at like 204 pounds or whatever it was for the fight. But it would have been he wouldn't have had to cut weight. He would have came in way healthier and way stronger for a fight that he had already started cutting weight for. But it's clear Costa had no intention of making 185. He came in fight week. He can talk about an injury. He can talk about whatever. He's had since last fall to make 185 pounds. So I don't really want to hear that. I don't think most fight fans want to hear it. And like Vettori said, whether you're a fan of Vettori or anything, because I know he tends to be a little bit boisterous and arrogant sometimes, Vettori at least showed up. He was professional, and he took the fight no matter what weight they threw it at. 195, yeah, I'll do it. Day before the fight, 205, yeah, I'll do it. And it happened. Brandon, what do you think of this fight, and what did you think of everything that led up to this fight?
So that's actually something I'm glad you brought that up because that's something I want to know because, like I said, I was talking about MMA fans earlier. Can you tell me, either one of you guys, what's the difference between what Costa did and what Nick Diaz did? I just want to know.
Nothing, no difference.
I just want to know because Nick Diaz wasn't getting any hate. Costa getting hated over here.
History. That's the difference. Nick Diaz did it once, and he did it after not fighting for 7 years or whatever.
Wait. You just said history. Costa has never missed weight. This is his first time ever missed weight.
Yeah, but he pulled out of 2 fights in the last, 8 months.
But he didn't pull out of this fight. This is him missing weight. That's what I'm saying.
He tried to pull out of this fight.
He didn't try to pull out. He knew Vettori was going to take the fight because Vettori wants to fight him. But that's what I'm just saying because this is what I just get. I don't get it. It's like he said he basically did an interview basically came out clean, said, hey, I'm not going to make 185. Let's try to do it at 195, which is basically what Nick Diaz says. Like, yo, I'm not going to make 170. Can we do it at 185? He did it on a Tuesday. Vettori did it on a Wednesday. That to me is the only difference, is that it's a day later.
I think the difference really is that Nick Diaz throughout the history of his career has showed up to fight no matter 170, 185, 150. It doesn't matter. And I'm not defending Nick Diaz for not showing up for weight when he's had 7 years to make weight as well. But I think the difference is Costa's likability. I think the difference is the fact that Costa has made excuse after excuse over the last year. Since last fall when he lost to Izzy, and all of a sudden, I got drunk on wine the night before. That's why I lost. No, you got lost because Izzy kicked your ass. From every point of view, he was faster than you. He was quicker. He landed more accurately. Everything he did, Costa could not get off. It almost reminded me of when Ngannou got broken the first time he lost to Stipe, and then he came out the next fight against Derek Lewis and looked completely flat. That's what I think happened to Costa. I think he was invincible. He was undefeated. He fought a guy that just completely outclassed him, and he started second-guessing himself. And Brandon, as a fighter, I think you know more than most. If you start second-guessing yourself, you're not going to do well in that fight. And so I think that was the situation. I think that's why he pulled out of so many fights coming up to this one. And then after pulling out of 2 fights in a row, then to finally show up for this one way overweight, I think that was the difference. But go ahead and break down this fight, because there was an actual fight that happened that was pretty freaking good.
Exactly. That's one of the things. It's like, well, like, yo, the fight still happened. It was a good fight. Everybody was all about it. Now, I think if Costa won this fight, people would be feeling a different way. But I think I'm happy that Vettori won. But either way, let's say it was a good fight. I mean, to me, Costa was Costa. He does his normal thing. Like I said, Costa's a power puncher. Basically, what he tries to do is he tries to hit you. And when he hits you with that power shot, either you get hit, you get worried, you make a mistake, and then that's when he finishes you, or you get hit, you shut down, you don't do anything, and then that's when he swarms you and he finishes you. But Vettori's a tough guy. He took that head kick, no problem, took some punches, took some body shots, no problem, and he just kept on going. And like I say, but the thing is though, like we talk about, Costa and his cardio, but I think maybe this weight cut or not cutting weight to 185 had him look good, because like I said, he was there for the whole 5 rounds as well. It's not like
he definitely looked gassed after the first couple rounds. He just kept throwing power shots. Like, he didn't slow him down, but he definitely
but I'm saying, but the power is still there. If you got no cardio, the power is going as well. But he was still throwing combinations here and there. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I think he still was good out there. It was a good fight, but hey, kudos to Vettori. Vettori was basically stuck to his game plan, was using his jab, mixed up combinations. Then he got out when he didn't want to stay there. Like I said, he beat Costa, he beat Costa to the punch, because he was always going first.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that last week. And Tim, I want to get your thoughts, because Brandon and I talked about it last week. We both picked Vettori before all this stuff went down. Because we thought the game plan just favored Vettori. It was a bad matchup for Costa. What did you think of everything that happened? And then what did you think of the fight?
Yeah, this is my favorite middleweight, catchweight, light heavyweight fight I've ever seen in my life. Thing is that a lot of people think I'm a snob when it comes to MMA, and I realize watching this fight that I entirely am. This was 2 guys who never learned how to lose, fighting each other. And neither of them, I didn't have to update any of my notes on either of these guys, because they didn't show anything new in this fight. We all picked Vettori coming in, and we didn't learn anything about Vettori or Costa in this fight. They did the exact same thing that they always do. And I'll use 2 quick examples of this. Robert Whittaker lost. We saw over the next 2 fights, he clearly changed his game plan. He's clearly adjusting to try to beat Israel Adesanya. He's clearly doing new things. Both of these guys just got embarrassed, made excuses, and now they're out doing the same thing again. We know that, here's the second example. We know that Costa can't take leg kicks. Did Vettori use that? No. He didn't do any new game planning or anything like that.
And also one more in there.
Yeah.
Even the announcers were saying that the whole fight, Vettori, go to the body. Go to the body. Costa's not covering the body. And all Vettori did was throw shots at the head 95% of the time. And then like one time he'd throw a body shot, hurt Costa, and the announcers would be like, look, go to the body. And he would just keep throwing headshots. But sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, 100%. One of the notes I had here is he shells up defensively. He doesn't throw counters. He backs up on straight lines. He doesn't know how to be the nail. He only knows how to be the hammer. If you push him back, you're going to beat him every time. We didn't learn anything about these two guys, but it was a fun fight. I liked it. I probably won't watch it again, but it was fun.
I would say, considering how gassed Costa looked after the first round, I was impressed that he just kept on keeping on for 5 rounds. Like, I thought Vettori's going to end this at some point. And at one point, Costa had Vettori hurt, like where you're like, oh, shit, like Costa might win this fight. But most of the time, at least 3 out of the 5 rounds, if not 4 out of the 5 rounds, it was just Vettori's pressure and Vettori constantly coming forward. As far as what's next for these guys, Costa, Dana White has already said Costa's stuck in the light heavyweight division for a little while. Costa says no, but Dana's the boss. So what are you going to do? I mean, after everything that happened this week, Brandon, like, come on. I mean, it was a shit show.
He missed weight one time and, oh, no, he has to fight at 205 now? No, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that nonsense. Dude, he wants to fight at 185. He's going to fight at 185.
I think you can look at him and tell he cannot make 185 anymore. He's gotten too muscular. He's gotten too big.
Hair plugs are really heavy. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah. Hair plugs are very heavy. Well, he needs some like right in the back because he's like balding like right here.
Yeah.
I'm like, I mean, I wear a hat, but I have a full head of hair. Like, I don't have any balding, and I'm like double his age. And I'm like, come on, man, get it together, buddy. Let's go. As far as what's next for Costa, I mean, it's going to be in the light heavyweight division if Dana says that's what it's going to be. So that's up to Costa if he wants to continue. I think Costa's tried to get out of his contract a few times this year with the money dispute. Now this whole thing. If Costa came into this fight and looked badly, I feel like Dana would have cut him right after the fight. Like, he's been looking for a reason to get rid of him. But the fact that Costa came in, looked respectable, even though he lost the fight, I think Dana has to keep him around. But he's going to make his life hell for what happened this fight. And rumors, I mean, we don't know for sure because it's not really been fact-checked, but there's been a lot of rumors of stuff behind the scenes that Costa's been causing havoc with ever since the announcement of the Whitaker fight and the Cannonier fights that never took place. So we'll see. As far as Vettori, I think he's stuck in no man's land. He lost to Izzy very cleanly. Whitaker's lined up to fight Izzy finally in, I think, January or February. What's next? Tim, who do you think is next for Vettori?
Man, he doesn't beat anyone in front of him. Like, yeah, I don't know if he beats a Cannonier. Like, Cannonier and Brunson are lined up, but like, does he beat Jack Hermanson? Does he beat Sean Strickland? Maybe. Does he beat Ryo?
I think he beats Strickland just because of technique.
But yeah, he's in the Rich Franklin spot, really. Of like, maybe he can beat a couple guys, and he beats a few people behind him, but no one in front of him, kind of thing. But because he didn't show anything new. If I was his manager, I'd just take like some Shabazian fight or something like that. I don't know. Just get paid. Take another fight before in 2021 and see what happens at middleweight. But there's no great fight. There's no ideal fight here.
What do you think, Brandon? You think he should fight Costa Jr., Kevin Gastelum?
Nah, I mean, I could see a Sean Strickland fight if Strickland wants to take it and not wait around for Luke Rockhold. But also, do another thing that he could do is, man, hey, he just fought at 205. He looked all right. Looked like he could make that weight. Look like a big guy. Maybe he could take some no names at 205. Just to work on his skills, maybe, and also too, just to make sure he gets paid. Like I said, this is prize fighting, so I mean, you do want to get paid. So maybe he might leave 185, just go to 205. Maybe have 1 or 2 fights there before the title picture clears up, because basically the winner of Cannonier and Brunson, they're supposed to get the next title shot. So, he'll still be waiting a while.
I think Vettori will be waiting for a while anyway, because he looked very bad. He went the distance, but he didn't look great against Izzy, and I don't think that split decision is something that people care about anymore from the first fight. So I doubt he'd get a third crack at Izzy, but stranger things have happened. Also on the card, down in the co-main event, I'd love to get you guys' thoughts on this. Grant Dawson versus Rick Glenn ruled a majority draw. I didn't agree with it. Tim, what you think?
I hate to do this to you, but I didn't see the fight, man. I was covering Glory at the same time. I'm sorry about this.
The episode.
I'm out. I'll see you guys in a bit.
Tomorrow on Kickin'. No, I was kidding. What's up,
Brandon?
But
I'm not going to offer you a bad opinion or a bad take. I can't offer anything unique, so I'm just going to shut up.
Tim, what you think?
Smart man. Yeah, no, you know what? I mean,
I learned how to shut up, but go ahead.
Of course, I picked Grant Dawson for this fight. He clearly won rounds 1 and 2. It's all about that third round. That third round, he was definitely losing that round. He was taking the L on that. Rick Glenn was taking that round. All right. I think the thing was, it was the way how the fight ended at the end is what told the judges, okay, this should be a 10-8. Because basically, right, what Rick Glenn said was like, all right, hey, fight's over, but he's like, oh, he has to get up on his own. And he sat up, but then he rolled over. And then he got up. And then, of course, his coach, being James Krause, being smart, kind of just ran up and just like kind of put his arm around it to keep him up. So, I mean, I can see what the judges saw. And yeah, I mean, it stinks that, it was a draw. They might maybe run it back, but it's.
I think both of them are kind of in no man's land as far as rankings go, so they almost have to run it back.
Yeah,
I don't see up next for either one of them. I'd find a hard opponent to draw interest to move either one up the rankings that aren't already booked. I think Grant Dawson and Glenn have to run it back because of the way the fight ended. If you're in the Glenn camp, you're like, I almost finished him in the third round. If you're in the Dawson camp, it's like I won 2 rounds easily, not even question. So I think that's definitely something to run back. Brandon, your fight pick last week, Jessica Rose Clark, Jessie Jess got the win over Jocelyn Edwards. Tell people at home what happened in that fight.
Basically what happened was she just took her down and she kept her down. That was it. I mean, Jessie Rose Clark is really known for her striking. She likes to throw Muay Thai, likes to throw elbows, but there was none of that in this fight. This fight was basically all wrestling. Like I knew that she was hanging out with DC at his wrestling academy. She was hanging out at Team Alpha Male, which of course they're known for their wrestling as well. But I mean, hey, it's her first fight back from her ACL surgery. So I think she just kind of wanted to be safe, and I don't blame her. Homegirl could not stop the takedowns. If it's working for you, why stop? Make them stop you from doing what's working. And she didn't do it.
Yeah, like she said after the fight, it doesn't have to be pretty. I'm sorry I wasn't entertaining, but I wanted to win, and she did what she had to do to get the win. Also on that card.
Oh, I think Tim wants to say something.
Yeah, before the fight, I was saying Jocelyn Edwards. She is a prospect watch. Keep your eye on Jocelyn Edwards. Her striking is crisp. She's talented. She's long, and I look like an idiot. And that's all I have to say.
I was like, damn, Tim, you watched that fight and didn't watch the other fight? But all right.
Yeah, I did.
And this is why people tune out of Art of MMA because, yeah. All right, cool. Back to the action. Bruce Leroy, Alex Caceres got the win over Woo Choi. Submission of all things. Rear naked choke in the second round. Trinaldo, the veteran, over Dwight Grant in the split decision. Such a weird split decision that it was 29-27 on all 3 scorecards, but a different way. So I don't know. I thought Trinaldo won the fight, but I also think Dwight Grant had some big moments in the fight. So I don't know. Brandon, who do you think won that fight?
Trinaldo definitely looked good, man. It looked like it was his fight to win.
Also on the card, another Nicolay. Nega Renault over Ike Villanueva versus in a TKO. Rodriguez got the win over Young Park by knockout, which was incredible if you had a chance to see that one.
Banger of a fight. How cool is that guy? Like Barack Obama, if he did steroids, would just look like this guy.
I don't even know how to respond to that one, Tim. It's a joke you can make while you live in Scotland.
That's right.
I'm not sure what's going on with the background noise.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you guys cutting your lawn back there?
Sorry. Yeah, the guys next to me. Sorry.
Funny enough, I thought it was me this time. All right, cool. Well, regardless, I got the headphones on now. Get more comfortable for the rest of the episode. Mason Jones, he did what he had to do to win this fight, but there were times that Onama was just nailing him. Onama came in on late notice. Should never have been in this fight against a top prospect like Mason Jones, but he hung in there for 3 rounds. Mason Jones did get the win. One right up Brandon's alley. Baby Shark, Tabitha Ricky, looked phenomenal against Oliveira. She just dominated for 3 rounds. Jamie Pickett got the win against Staropoli. Didn't really surprise me there because Jamie's just the better striker and the better, more athletic fighter. I told everybody who listened that Jai Herbert was going to get the win over Kama Worthy, and that was a knockout in the first round. The one that surprised me, and I probably shouldn't have been because El Jefe Jeff Molina, this was my fight pick last week, was undefeated going into it, but he was also fighting another guy who was almost pretty much undefeated except for an injury, in Daniel Lasarda da Silva, and he just looked the part. Da Silva came out fast, but Molina just kept on it and then eventually got the TKO in the second round. I blame the name change on why Da Silva lost, because in Brazil, he always went by Daniel Lasardo. And up until maybe even our show last week, every promo you saw for him was Daniel Lasardo. And then all of a sudden, it's like Da Silva. And I'm like, did he get dropped out of the fight? Who's fighting? And it was the same guy. But they just decided to go by Da Silva instead of Lasardo and change his name, I guess, for the proper name, but cost him the fight. If he was still Lasardo, I think he would have won this fight. But anyway, Randa Marcos turned back the clock. She looked phenomenal against Souza. And then Jonathan Martinez got the win against Lazishvili. I used to say that name all the time, and now every time I get ready to say it, I just butcher it. Tim, what other fights did you catch on the card, and did anything kind of stand out to you while you were watching?
Yeah, tough to be a Kama Worthy fan. I think he has so much potential and looks so good. I wish that he could get it together.
It's like
and
an
get
every
a couple
other fight thing.
Exactly. Like and you can see the potential too. Like clearly he's so talented. Mason Jones, I don't know what's up with Welsh wrestling, but clearly he's quite good. But David Onama actually has a ton of potential. I think he's got a really good future in the sport. For the moments that that
would have been a problem for Mason Jones.
Exactly. He's a really talented fighter. So both Mason Jones versus David Onama, that might be like a Conor McGregor fighting Max Holloway on the undercard kind of thing. We might be looking back at this fight of like, wow, I can't believe these guys fought on the undercard at some point.
Brandon, anything else stand out to you? I know Baby Shark looked awesome. I know you love those lady fights.
Yeah, I do. I know what people are talking about. Baby Shark.
That's her nickname. Baby
I
Shark.
know. But no, I got
way to make it dirty, Brandon. Thanks a lot.
I got 2 things that kind of stuck out to me. One was Bruce Leroy. That comeback victory, because he got rocked, by that knee. But he came back second round, took his back, got the choke. So he's definitely been on a tear. And then the second thing that stood me out, man, is Jason Herzog, man, dude. That dude is just
best ref in the business.
Ref. He's just a good ref, man. You going back to the Bruce Leroy fight, taking a point from Choi, and then also too in the main event with Costa, with the eye poke. I know some people were kind of jumping on him for being quick, but the thing is, no, he gave him a warning. Remember, you get a warning when you're in the back, when you're talking to the ref and you're going over the rules.
He also gave him a warning between rounds too. I saw somebody show a clip from the corner, and he you keep doing this, I'm going to take a point next time. And that was his warning between the rounds that people didn't see because the corner was focused on Vettori on the broadcast.
But I'm saying he got that too. But then also too, during the fight as well, he would tell him, watch your fingers. So a lot of people get on refs when we got somebody getting eye poked like 4 or 5 times and then nothing happens and then they finally get a warning. Nah, Jason Herzog, man, he was on point with everything.
Yeah, quick, I want to catch Brandon on the spot. Better referee, Herb Dean or Jason Herzog?
Herb Dean's still my guy. Herzog's number 2, man. I've been saying that for years.
Oh, my
Herb
God.
Dean,
I cannot get him off this
Herzog
Herb Dean train. I cannot. What about Mark Smith? Is he in top 5? I don't
know. Goddard's 3. I'd probably go with Beltran. I could probably go with Smith 5th.
What about Big John?
Huh?
What about Big John?
He's not a ref anymore. He's a commentator. So it don't matter.
You're off the hook for Big John. You don't got to put him in there.
Yeah,
okay.
He's not a ref anymore.
Tim, real quick, because you're not biased. Better referee, Jason Herzog or Herb Dean?
Herzog all day, easily.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Put the fandom on the side, Brandon.
No, Tim, I'm not mad at you. It's just Mike over here. Mike, he's just trying to stir some trouble. He's trying to stir the pot.
Hey, you're the one in the New York, New Jersey area. It's like James Harden. Stir it up.
But okay, but here's the thing. I'll quickly throw out with eye pokes and warnings and things like this. If you're in your 20th MMA fight, you don't need a warning. You know the rules. So shut the hell up and don't poke someone in the eye.
That's true, and that was pretty obvious the way he kind of put his hands out there to defend himself. That's it for UFC Vegas 41. Real quick before we move on to the news, real quick, a couple other things that took place. Brandon's favorite, BKFC, they had their fight night in Wichita. Dave Rickles with the win over Julian Lane. Big shots by Doolittle over Jay Jackson. Majority decision, but some of the shots that Doolittle landed are just like highlight reel. So a lot of fun action, of course, mostly stoppages. Kind of ironic that the top two fights went to decision, but I'm sure it was good for their pockets. Over on the Contender Series last night, 4 finishes, 5 get signed, led by Gotzi getting the win over Silva by submission with just a nasty knee bar. If you're a grappler fan and you love like the technical aspect of MMA, the knee bar that Gotzi got Silva in was nasty. So check out all that action. It's, of course, on ESPN Plus. You can go back and watch that. And then if you want to follow all the kickboxing action, check out tomorrow's episode, Kicking It with Tim and the Mechanic. They talk about One First Strike. They talk about Glory Collision 3. And they talk about Lion Fight 71. So that means I don't have to talk about any of that and look like a fool in front of Brandon again. So that is that. Time to turn our attention this week in MMA. Go over the news real quick before we get our previews and picks and get out of here today. Starting off, Dana White. Funny enough, last week I was joking with Brandon. I was like, man, 39, 40, 41. How many damn Vegas cards are we going to have? Well, Dana's getting sick of it too. He's like, I enjoy getting out of my office at 5:03, going to watch some fights and then going home and having a home-cooked meal. But it's time to get the show back on the road. So very soon, UFC will be taking the fight night cards back on the road so we can start piling up numbers in other cities like Oklahoma and some other places as well. And yes, I know Oklahoma's a state, but I was just quoting Dana White. All right. We talked a few weeks ago about Mayhem Miller getting in trouble. He had the domestic violence situation, and they said they weren't pressing charges at the time in the bar fight that he had in September. Well, the DA's reversed course. Now he is facing 2 felony charges for the bar fight in September, which left a man completely unconscious. So that story will be in our notes for this weekend in MMA. Just a sad situation. I can't keep going over all the bad shit that Jason Mayhem Miller does. He just keeps shooting himself in the foot. He has serious mental health issues. He was a fun fighter to watch. He was a contender for a long time. Of course, he had the MTV series, which famously actually made Michelle Waterson famous with the Karate Hottie thing. So Jason Mayhem Miller, once again, in trouble. Speaking of bare knuckle, I keep expecting Jeremy Stevens to be the guy, but Mike Perry just signed with bare knuckle. I didn't even know his contract was up, but Mike Perry is now a bare knuckle fighter. He will be making his debut sometime in 2022 early on. Kevin Lee regrets not applying for an exemption to Adderall. He feels bad about it. He's still kicking himself in the ass over it. But, Kevin, it's your own fault. There's clearly an exemption to be made. If you file the right paperwork, you chose to try to hide it because you thought your fight would get called off. So it is what it is.
I didn't know Adderall was against the rules because I know college students were using it in like tennis and stuff like that because it really does help your performance. But I didn't realize it was explicitly illegal.
Tim, they're not punching each other in the face in tennis.
Yeah, I mean, you could. you literally could though.
I don't want to be the girl across from Serena Williams if she got mad and could punch you in the face.
Yeah. No, I was just surprised that was a PED. Anyway, we'll move forward.
Before Brandon falls asleep. All right. Sarah Kaufman signs with a Canadian BTC promotion for their November 20th event. The reason I put that in the news is because to this day, like I know she fought the last few fights in PFL. I do not understand why Sarah Kaufman, even at 36, I think, is not on a UFC or Bellator roster full time. Like, the woman has gone toe to toe with some of the best in the sport and beat most of them. And yet here she is having to sign, no offense, Tim, because I know you're nationally Canadian, having to sign with a small Canadian promotion to get a fight. I think it's a disgrace to women's MMA, and I think Sarah Kaufman deserves better. That's my personal opinion.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, I know she's not with Bellator because they really don't have her weight class. Like, I don't know why she went to 155 for PFL, but it could have been because PFL was was paying her major money.
She wanted to fight, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it could be that. But to me though, she's a 135er. She's not a 145er. She's not a 155er. She's a 135er. So I mean, if UFC is not coughing up the money for her, then she's not going to go there.
I don't even think they're offering her anything, which is the crazy part. Like, every time I follow her on social media, I've never once heard her even whisper UFC since the early days of like the Ronda Rousey era and stuff. So it's been a long time. Last bit of news: Corey Anderson laughs off Blachowicz's comments. He's probably a little jealous. I'm making more than him fighting in this B league. If you're talking about money, yeah, you're winning, Corey. If you're talking about fights, he still knocked your ass out last time.
They're 1-1, man. They're 1-1. Get over it. They're 1-1.
There's a big difference. It was Brandon's turn for the rant this week, but he bailed on me, so we'll get him back next week, and I get to take another week off. Tim didn't have anything to be angry about, so we're just going to go ahead and jump in and make some picks. PFL 2021 championships are this evening. Right after you watch Art of MMA, make sure you tune in to ESPN. Check out the PFL championships, headlined by Kayla Harrison and Guardado. There's a lot of stories going on behind that. I've been actually very excited to talk about this. We're going to cover all 6 title fights and obviously some highlights as well. So bear with us. This might be a little longer segment. But right off in the main event, Kayla Harrison versus Taylor Guardado doesn't look like a good matchup on paper. But people don't realize Guardado's been fighting for a very long time. She took a very long break in the middle. You're talking about somebody that fought Ronda Rousey as an amateur. And then when Ronda got that call up to Strikeforce, she's the one that actually filled in for Ronda at previous commitments and fought a couple fights as an amateur for Ronda Rousey because they had struck up a friendship and they were so competitive. And even though the ref stopped the fight for an armbar, Taylor never tapped out. So Ronda respected her, that she was angry she lost, even though she never quit. And, of course, in the amateur MMA, they protect the fighters a little bit more than they do in the professional level. So that said, even though Taylor only has like a 3-1 or 4-1 record, on paper, it looks like Kayla's going to run right through her. And I do actually, my pick right off the bat is Kayla Harrison. I think Kayla does have the chops to be the better fighter in this fight. But I don't think people should sleep on Taylor Guardado. She's a lot better than people think. Brandon, I'll start with you. Who's your pick in this fight and why?
I'm going with Kayla Harrison. Why? Because she's hanging out in AEW. She's a pro wrestler, kissing the biceps,
She just crapped all over AEW just today. There's like, I'm not ever going back because they're just a bunch of nerds.
Please, she's going back. I'm picking Kayla. Why? Because I just think she's the better fighter. I think she has the more experience. I mean, come on, this is her tournament to win, and I think this is going to be her crowning moment.
Tim, I want you to be my witness that this is 2 times in a row he's picked Kayla Harrison, despite the fact that he can't stand her.
I didn't say I can't stand her, man.
Yes, you did.
No,
I was roll back the tape.
Yeah, please show me the tape where I say social media. Stand her. I might say I don't like her, or I think there are people better than her.
You've even brainwashed your lovely wife into like crapping all over Kayla on social media.
You're speaking.
Who you got in this fight?
Kayla Harrison all day, the 2-time judo gold medalist from the Olympics.
Here comes the bias because he got to interview her.
She is a great person. You should really check out the interview on Kafka Sports. We talk about surviving sexual assault. She adopted.
In all seriousness, yeah, she is absolutely an amazing person. And check out that interview. I'll drop a link in the description for people.
You know what? As many interviews as I've done, that Kayla Harrison interview is actually the best interview I've ever done. That is no bias about it or anything like that.
Just an update to your interview real quick. I believe this week she got legal custody. Like, she is now fully adopted the 2 kids. So She is now officially mom. So congratulations to her.
After the fight, I have her number on my phone, so I'll text her. Like,
oh, okay.
So yeah, no, Kayla all day is just she's gonna win $1 million, first round TKO.
I mean, yeah, she gets the kids, and now she has $1 million to take them to Disneyland or Disney World. So there you go. All three of us picking Kayla Harrison over in the. I kind of have a hard time calling any of these fights a co-main event or later in the card because they're all for $1 million. But what probably should have been the main event, but of course PFL is built around Kayla Harrison. Ray Cooper III, he's looked absolutely phenomenal. He's got his rematch against Magomed Kamirov. I know Brandon's excited to talk about this, so Tim, I'll start with you. Tim, who you got in this fight?
Man, Ray Cooper, I remember when he started, there was so much excitement around Ray Cooper when he first started in MMA, but I'm going to pick Magomed Kamirov is going to make it 15 in a row. I think he's going to take it by unanimous decision. It won't be easy. Ray Cooper is a banger. He's good in every area, but yeah, I'm not going to pick against a Magomed.
Brandon, I know who you're picking. Go ahead.
Ray Cooper III. Hey, like I said, dude, like Tim, like I talked about with Sidichai on his revenge tour. This is Ray Cooper's third revenge tour. Ray Cooper wanted this fight. He's getting this fight. Saying everybody knows he's got that knockout power, but people forget about his wrestling, in which of course he used his wrestling in the Rory McDonald fight. And like I said, I really just think I just think we're seeing the evolution of Ray Cooper III, and I think he's gonna take care of business, and he's gonna be a 2-time champ.
Do I listen to the guy who's 11-11, batting 500, or do I go to the guy who's over 100+ wins and is the lead dog in our picks? Well, personally, I'm actually taking Ray Cooper anyway because I listened to Ray Sefo talk him up during our interview, which, by the way, Tim, right here on this network, Fighters First, Unfiltered, episode number 1. Ray Sefo talked about the championships coming up, talked all about PFL. Check that out. I'll put that description in the show notes as well. I'll be nice and put it below his Kayla Harrison one, but it will be there as well. He is my guest. I got to be chivalrous. But I'm picking Ray Cooper because he just looked that damn good against McDonald. Like, he just totally made McDonald look like second class. And McDonald's been running through everybody, and he made him look like second class. So I know Magomed Kamirov is extremely talented, but he didn't look that great against Sai. He really didn't. He had a lesser opponent. He should have dominated and finished, and he didn't. He went the decision, and it lasted a while. So I'm going to take Cooper in this one. In the heavyweight championship, it's going to be Bruno Capoloza versus D'Elia. I'm going to go ahead and start and take Bruno. He's dominated everybody. He's come up from light heavyweight to heavyweight, and since he's made that change, he's faster than everybody, and he's just as strong. He's fought bigger heavyweights and put them to sleep. He's fought fast heavyweights and put them to sleep. I think Bruno's going to do it one more time to Ante. Brandon, what do you think?
I'm going with you. I got Bruno. I think this fight could be over in the first round. Like I said, man, he brings the heat. He goes
the last time. Like, he knocked him out the first time.
Exactly what I'm saying. He brings the heat. He goes for the finish. So I see that happening again, and I think he'll get a nice big check for $1 million.
Tim, do you see this one going any different than the first matchup earlier in the season?
Yeah, I do. I think it's actually going to be a little bit quicker. And rather than 46 seconds, Bruno gets it done in 45 this time around.
Way to go out there on the limb, Tim. I appreciate that bravado. Even calling your shot exactly when the knockout will happen.
Yeah.
So at this point, if Bruno goes 47 seconds, I should count that as a loss for you.
That's right.
I won't.
I'll stand by it. That's fine.
In the 145-pound championship, Kabalea versus Chris Wade. Tim, who you got in that one?
Kobylaev all day. He's going to make it 19. I'll stay undefeated. I'm not picking against my guy.
Brandon, we can't pick against our guy, Chris Wade, can we?
Nah, I know I'm not. I got Chris Wade. Like I said, dude, ever since he dropped to 145, dude has been on another level. Like I said, you know, he's saying was he All-American wrestling in high school, I think it was. But I mean, the guy has wrestling, he has striking, he has submissions, he's got it all. I'm saying I think this is gonna be a tough fight for both guys, but I just think Chris Wade is going to get the job done.
I'm just gonna make it way simpler. I'm picking Chris Wade for Sergio. There you go. That and Chris Wade has looked phenomenal this season. He's looked like he's just a whole new fighter since going down to 145. Stronger, faster, just incredible. And that's not a knock against Kabalev. I just think Chris Wade is destined at this point for this one. So he's struggled out 155 a couple tournaments in a row. They said if you want to do it, you got to change weight classes. He went to 145, and he's just dominated. So looking forward to that one. A 205, Antonio Carlos Jr. versus Martin Hamlet. Hamlet, of course, got the advancement due to the injury and the weird situation with that. Carlos Jr.'s looked phenomenal. Brandon, who you got in this one?
Shoe face all day, every day. I said this was his tournament from the beginning, and so far he's proven me right, and I think he's going to get the job done again. It might not be pretty, but it will get the job done. He'll be getting himself a nice belt and a nice, cool $1 million.
Tim?
Going with the multiple-time Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu World Championship. Give me an Antonio Carlos Jr. first round flying Gogo Plata, please.
Oh, my God. Please stop calling your shot.
Oh, man.
Oh, man. Yeah, there's that weird situation with Cesar Ferreira, and, of course, he lost to Corey Hendricks. I find Martin Hamlet just doesn't have the experience to really go toe-to-toe with Antonio Carlos Jr., especially at a stronger. Like, if it was 185 pounds, I could see this kind of working out like the Brad Tavares fight did last year. But at 205, Carlos Jr. looks strong, and so strong that his grappling is very hard to deal with. So I'm picking Antonio Carlos Jr. in this one as well. And lastly, the last championship on the line, over at 155 pounds, Rosh Manfio, the guy who ended the run for Anthony Pettis, though Anthony Pettis' run never really got started. He's going against Raz Habov. Tim, who you got in this one?
Roush all day. I think this is the win over Clay Collard was so impressive. Like that's a notable win. Win over Anthony Pettis was very good. But yeah, Roush Manfio all day. This is a great fight for him.
Brandon?
Conclude with Tim. I'm going with Manfio as well.
God, I hate going against two people at the same time.
Ooh.
But I'm actually going with Loic. Raz Habov. First of all, Roush needed a big third round to come back against Pettis. Clay Collard, he did look phenomenal against. But one thing I've noticed about Raz Habov this season even, he lost that first fight to Alex Martinez. A split decision, tough loss. Before that, he lost to Schulte, who won the championship that year. He came back against Aliyev, got the TKO. Came back against Martinez later on in the playoffs and got the win. He learned from his mistakes, and he's grown from it. I actually think that he looks like the better, stronger, faster fighter. And so and his wrestling's way better than Roush, who kind of like relies a little bit sometimes on that shot. So I'm going to go with Raz Habov in that one, see if I can make up a little bit of ground on the lead dog, Mr. Brandon Cuttino. That's all 6. Real quick, because I want to irritate Brandon. Brandon, what's your thoughts on the Clarissa Shields fight?
I think she'll get the job done. She'll get her hand raised. Like I said, she trains at a good gym. Jackson Winks. I think Mike Winklejohn won't really have her be in a bad matchup, especially so early in her MMA career. So I definitely see her getting a hand raised. This could be where we might see her hands on display. She might get that. We might see that right hand connect, and she gets a knockout.
I had a hard time with this fight only because, not that I don't think Clarissa Shields is going to win. I have a hard time the fact that they booked this fight. Yes, Abigail Montez is 2-0, so Clarissa Shields is technically 1-0. But the one thing people don't realize about Abigail Montez, even though she's like 21, 22 years old, she's been fighting Muay Thai for a long time. She's actually a Mexican fighter who's we talked about this on Crossing Borders. She actually has a nice, extensive combat sports background that I didn't know originally when they booked this fight. First, I was like, why are you throwing a young fighter to the wolves? Because Clarissa Shields obviously has a world of combat sports experience with her boxing. But don't sleep. I do think Shields is going to win. I think she might even get the knockout stoppage probably in the second round. But Montez is a big girl. She's a tall, lanky, strong girl and got some reach. So I'll be interested to see how this matches up because I don't think Shields knows what's coming. Just like Brandon said the last time when she fought Brittany Elkins, people didn't think. Brandon said it was going to be a tougher fight, and we all laughed at him. He was right. If Shields isn't prepared, for somebody that can throw these flying knees and all kinds of stuff and do the clinch, she might be in trouble. I think she's going to get the win. Tim, you got any quick thoughts before we move on from this?
No, I like Clarissa quite a bit. I avoid Twitter drama, so I seem to like her. But I don't know. People who pay attention to Twitter drama don't seem to like Clarissa. But yeah, Abby.
Only this might be a ball fan.
yeah, get out of here with that. No, Abby, I don't know. She might do well, like you said. I don't have any really hard-hitting analysis, but yeah, I'm looking forward to this one.
I've seen a couple of her fights. They're on YouTube, and she's been big, strong, and dominant. But she's fought lesser opponents. But she does have that Muay Thai background that people don't know about. So it's going to be interesting. I think Clarissa's going to do what she needs to do. And then one last thing I want to get your thoughts on before we move on. Brandon, what do you think about Julia Budd making her PFL debut?
I'm cool with it. Like, I mean, hey, maybe, I know she as a woman, let me get my words right. Who knows, man? Maybe maybe 155 might be better for her, and like I said, her time in Bellator, was done because she was going to be in no woman's land, because basically it was like, all right, you're going. I mean, she was basically going to be like talked about earlier. She was going to be like Rich Franklin, where it is
0-25 against Cyborg.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can't beat Cyborg, but you could probably beat everybody else. So they're not going to give you a title shot. She kind of really doesn't have the most exciting style of fighting, so that's why I think PFL might suit her best.
They gave her a good matchup too with Caitlin Young.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of shocked on that one, but I'm gonna be rocking with Caitlin Young. You know me. I gotta support the kickboxers.
Hey, it's the championship. Like, this is a big card. This is their biggest night of the year. One of the best weeks in combat sports of the year. So PFL's bringing the heat. Tim, you got any final thoughts on this card?
Nope. Just looking forward to it. Thanks for asking, though.
I gotta include you, buddy. You're my guest. All right, that's PFL. Happens right after this show, so make sure you tune in tonight and watch it. Definitely watch our show first, though, so you get the expertise that we just dropped on you. UFC 267 this weekend. Jan Blachowicz versus Glover Teixeira. A battle of two guys that just have no quit, no backup. They just keep coming forward. Both are fighters that have been fighting for a very long time, and their heads are made of granite stone. You can't hurt them. You only hope that you can somehow outmaneuver them. But then Glover's been turning back the clock the last couple fights with submissions and all kinds of crazy stuff. Tim, I'll start with you. Who you got in this fight and why?
Great fun fight here. We were talking on Monday that Glover Teixeira might be the longest fighter in between title shots in terms of actually earning both title shots. I think Royce Gracie officially has the longest time in between titles, but I mean, that Matt Hughes fight was kind of handed to him. But yeah, super happy for Glover to see his success in this industry. I was initially kind of leaning towards Glover, but having gone back and watched tape, I'm pretty confident in Jan Blachowicz. Glover is very hittable. He's a little bit slower, especially with his reaction. He gives up center control quite a bit. Smith and Santos were both able to land early on him. He really overcommits on his strikes as well, which I don't love. He's leaning forward. His chin is ahead of his knees. He moves his... he's usually flat-footed, so he'll try to do blocking rather than moving his feet as defense, and does a lot of straight-line engagements. Jan, when I went back and watched tape on him, he's a lot better than I remember him being, which I don't know why. I just never paid attention.
He's gotten better as he's been going on.
And you're not kidding about that. For some reason, I just put this image of him in my head, and that's what's been going back and watching tape. He's really good. He strikes really well.
Brandon says all the time, you can't always judge a fighter by what he did his last fight.
And
you're laughing, Brandon, but isn't that what you say?
Yeah.
I'm trying to give you props, and you're laughing. I can't with this guy, Tim. You want to replace me and be the host of the show?
Oh, no, man.
God damn it. All right, go ahead. Keep going.
I can't keep hosting shows. I don't have time anymore.
Glover's patience. Go ahead.
Glover, he's not going to be as elusive as Adesanya was. If you stand in front of Jan Blachowicz with no fakes and no footwork, you're going to get hit a bunch. Jan has great distance control. He moves in and out on different lines when he engages with people, and he also uses his feet defensively, so he'll just step an inch back rather than trying to block, and then he'll come in and counter. He is very good defensively. aggressively. Circles out from the cage well, so you're not backing him up very well. He does like a left hook counter, and I'm not saying check hook, which I will talk about in a second. He does
we're going to get to that after we talk about this pay-per-view. Go ahead.
Perfect. Well, I'll do it right away here because I'm picking my shot again. But he does like a left hook. He does it entering the clinch. He does it entering exchanges. He does it leaving the clinch. He does it during exchanges. He does it during the clinch. I am officially going to pick Jan Blachowicz via left hook, first round TKO.
Whoa, first round.
First round TKO. You heard him. And what kind of left hook?
So a left hook is just a left hook.
Which one is he finishing him with?
A left hook. A check left hook, it's the only difference is timing. Because the check left hook
we'll get to that later. I just want to make sure which one you're calling out. Just the regular lead left hook?
It is the lead left hook. You got it.
Okay. I just want to be sure. You're calling a shot. I want people to know on Saturday night that Tim called that was going to happen. And in fairness, Tim did call it, again, that Michael Chandler Oliveira fight. So in fairness, he did actually call that shot. Yeah. Brandon, who you got?
This one was a little tough for me. I was going back and forth on it, but I think I'm going to agree with Tim. I'm going to go with Jan. I like Glover, but I just think his time has passed him by. I think he should have got a title shot a while back, but they just passed him over. I mean, he's training with Alex Pereira. Yes, I think that could help him with his kickboxing. Maybe change that up because Glover is known as a boxer. Maybe he added some kicks to it. But even though Alex Pereira, he really wasn't a true kickboxer. He also liked to box. But though in his last 3 fights, he was adding, knee kicks, round kicks, and everything like that. So maybe that could help his striking. But I just think Jan Blachowicz, I think Jan is just going to take care of business and get the job done.
Oh, man. If any MMA expert ever watched our show, they would butcher us in the comments for the way we pronounce these names. And I apologize. I just do. I try my best. Brandon sometimes just takes the first names. I try. Combined age in this fight is 79 years old for two guys. If Herb Dean refs this fight, you're probably talking about 120. But sorry, Brandon. But that said, these guys are timeless wonders, man. They've been turning back the clock for a while. And Blachowicz has just been getting better and better and better. And Tim talked about his footwork. He never put himself in a bad situation against Izzy. He never put himself in a situation for Izzy to really just get off and go. One of the things Teixeira has struggled with is not his striking. And the fact that he got a submission in his last fight is kind of shocking, but it was against Thiago Santos, who's also trying to knock your head off. Look at the last couple fights that Glover struggled in. That split decision win against Krylov. What does Krylov do? He wrestles. He tries to grab you. Corey Anderson, he lost to. What does Corey do? One of the best wrestlers in the division. So other than that KO against Gustafsson, it's pretty much the blueprint to get to him is wrestling. Jan does that better than most people in this division at this point. He did it against Izzy, who's one of the best in the sport. So I'm taking Jan Blachowicz in this fight as well. And it's not a knock on Glover. I just think Jan's getting better. It's crazy to say at 38, this guy is improving. But he is definitely improving. And Glover might have some new tricks up his sleeve as far as striking, going with Alex Pereira and everybody else. But you can't strike when you're laying on your back. Izzy couldn't do it. I doubt the Glover can either. So that's my pick with Jan. Over in the co-main event for the interim title, Peter Yan versus Corey Sandhagen. We talked exhaustively how much we think about the situation with Sterling and Yan. So you can go back to previous episodes. You know how Brandon and I feel about this. We can leave that one alone. The fight is actually here, though, Brandon. Who do you got in this fight? I think this is a dangerous fight to pick because it could go so many ways.
I got Corey Sandhagen, hands down. I'm not thinking about it. I'll tell you why. Because I hope
you do. That's why I picked you.
I've been saying this for a while. I'm sorry. I'm not into the Peter Yan hype. I don't see it, man. I see him being beatable. I still think my teammate Jimmy Rivera beat him, except for a couple of knockdowns. And Aljo was doing his thing until Aljo got tired. Hey, man, I think Sandhagen has the reach, can keep him at bay. Man, we could see another flying knee kick like we saw to our boy Frankie Edgar, and Sandhagen is your new interim champion.
Tim?
I just feel weird now, but okay. So my turn. So Peter, I feel embarrassed for him. Like I feel bad for the guy. He clearly agreed to a Pride rules fight, but he accidentally signed the contract for a UFC rules fight. I mean, that's not his fault. That's not his fault. So under Pride rules, he's a champion. So Peter
fighting under one rules too. But go ahead.
Yeah, it would have been fine under one rules, but yeah.
That's how DJ lost his last fight.
Yeah, exactly, man. Grounded knee, do it. So Peter, he. Oh man, I feel weird now that I'm gonna pick Peter Yan in this fight, and let me quickly explain it. But he's a tight Muay Thai styled striker. If you get too close to him, he does really quick takedown. What he mainly excels at is off rhythm striking. So he's fought extremely good strikers, like Jose Aldo and Uriah Faber, but he's surprised them when he's striking them. So it's not always in the same rhythm. He does off rhythm stuff. He does pick his shots really well. He's very low output and high impact. Corey does lots of great stance switching on entries, and I could see him having a lot of success in this fight with the low kicks. He uses a jab before all of his exchanges, and I love that. And also, like Brandon had pointed out, he does the exact same flying knee that Sterling was landing on Yan over and over again. I just think Peter is going to win this fight. I think he's going to control the center and push Sandhagen back to the cage, use trip takedowns, and I think he's going to get it done. But I do love this fight. I think it's a very close fight. I could see it going the other way, and I wouldn't be surprised.
So behind the scenes, kind of let you guys at home know. So me and Dan Bakley were texting back and forth yesterday over our DraftKings picks for this weekend, and he asked me what I thought of this fight, and I was like, "This is a dangerous pick," because what you could have happen, have the smaller fighter, the Peter Yan, the shorter fighter, come and get Frankie Eggard. I think Frankie might be a verb now. Sorry, Frankie, but. You got highlight reel knockout. And Sandhagen could win this fight quick. It could go the distance, and Sandhagen could outpoint him because he has the reach in the distance. And Yan might never get inside. It could be a TJ Dillashaw situation where Peter Yan just kind of outpoints him for 5 rounds and just keeps coming at him and getting the takedown here and there and getting the knees and getting the strikes and, like you said, the measured attacks that Peter Yan does. If Peter Yan was fighting Sterling, I would have picked Peter Yan 1,000 times over because I saw what happened in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th rounds of that fight when Sterling slowed down. Sterling himself has said that Peter Yan was kicking his ass, and that's why he doesn't deserve a rematch, because if you're kicking my ass that bad, these are his exact words. If you're kicking my ass that bad, why did you need to have to do something illegal? That was what he said on his own podcast a couple weeks back. So if it's Peter Yan and Sterling, I got Peter Yan all day. My problem with this fight is that Corey Sandhagen has that reach, and Peter Yan doesn't have the output that TJ Dillashaw does. He tries to be more measured in his approach. I think this fight, just on paper, it favors Corey Sandhagen from the angles and from the reach and from – it's just a bad matchup for Peter Yan. I picked Peter Yan against almost anybody else in that division, including TJ Dillashaw. But against Corey Sandhagen, I'm actually picking Sandhagen. And it's just because of the matchup. I just don't think this is a great matchup for Peter Yan. Time to make our fight picks, and then I'll kind of run down the card a little bit before we get out of here. Tim, you're our guest. What's the other fight on this card that you're really looking forward to?
Islam Makhachev facing the late replacement Dan Hooker, who just won a month ago. I particularly like this because I like talking about Islam Makhachev because it's a very clear mentor-mentee relationship with Khabib. And we've seen mentor relationships in the past in mixed martial arts, and we don't know if this relationship is going to work out like a Shogun Wanderlei, where clearly Shogun is the better fighter and becomes a much better fighter in history, or closer to a George St. Pierre, Rory McDonald, where both fighters are extremely talented, but one's not quite as good as the other. This is such a great step up in competition for Islam. Dan Hooker just fought a month ago. He has clear flaws where he likes a firefight way too much. That's not really going to make a big difference in this fight, but I can't pick. On paper, like the eye test says Islam. He's taking people down and mauling them, but they're not very high-ranked opponents. Dan Hooker is having wars with some very high-ranked opponents. Guys like Edson Barboza, Paul Felder, Dustin Poirier. On paper, I got to pick Dan Hooker all day. This is such a great fight, and I'm really excited for this one.
My guy.
So wait, you're picking Dan Hooker?
I'm picking Dan Hooker.
My guy. I'm with you. I'm with you on that one. I'm with
I just worry about Dan Hooker having to cut weight twice in that short a period of time. He's not been home in over a month. The reason why he took this fight is because if he goes home, like he has to wait like a month to go home, and then he'd have to wait another month before he could. It just would ruin his whole fight schedule. So he decided to stay, take this fight in Abu Dhabi, before he tries to go home in another month. So the way New Zealand, you've seen Izzy kind of railing against the government, the way they're kind of doing COVID, you understand because it's a serious issue, but it's making it very hard on people trying to live their lives when they have to travel the globe to fight. So tough situation for Dan Hooker. I think Makhachev's going to run through him only because of the wrestling and the grappling. And if it was a stand-up war, I'd say Dan Hooker always has a chance. But against a fighter like Makhachev, it kind of looks like Michael Chandler a little bit, a shorter fighter that can kind of get into you. I think Makhachev is just all kinds of problems for him. Brandon, what's your fight pick of the night?
You know me, man, king of the lady fights. I'm going with my girl, Amanda Ribas. I think she's just going to get the job done. There's no technical breakdown or anything like that. I think she's just a better fighter, and I think she's going to get her hand raised.
I actually think Verna's going to win that fight.
Of course you do.
Of course I do. No, but I think Verna's just a more well-rounded fighter. You saw Verna the last couple times she's fought. She's just looked phenomenal. She struggled against Dern, but there's levels to this shit. Ribas doesn't have that jiu-jitsu level. But against Murata,
did you hear what he said, Tim? Did you not see right? I said, I'm picking this fight because I think Ribas is the better fighter. And he comes back and says that his pick, she's the more well-rounded fighter.
Yeah. Look how she fought against Murata. I know there was an arm injury, but against Felice Herring, I think Verna's just a better fighter. I do. It's not always, a personal attack on you, Brandon. Sometimes it is, but not always. My fight pick of the night. Oh man, see, Tim, you sure you don't want to host this show? I'm going with the returning Khamzat Chimaev against Jingliang Li. I think Khamzat's going to get the win. He's been training, he's been grinding, he's been dying to get back in that cage for almost a year now. I think his last fight, if I'm not mistaken, was like last October or something like that. Don't quote me on that. I have to look it up. Last September. So over a year now, he's been fighting. He had COVID. He had the aftermath of COVID, just kind of shutting him down. He tried to train with COVID, which set him back even further. Jing Liang is always super dangerous, but I think Khamzat, when he's on his game, is a contender and a quickly rising contender at 9-0. And he was the talk of the town until he got COVID and everything kind of shut him down. So I'll be very interested to see his rebound, see if he's back in condition, back in shape, and if he's ready to go. Either of you guys got an thought on that fight?
Leech.
You just picking that because I said Hamza.
No. Like that's why I told you guys in the beginning of this show. I said like, yo, when we talk about our picks, man, I'm gonna go with some picks that you're not gonna be thinking about. But like I said, I really do think Dan Hooker's gonna win, and I think Leech is gonna win. Like I said, man, everybody was on the hype train of Makhachev, but again, who was he fighting? He didn't really fight anybody. Leech is a ranked guy. This is really going to be his test. Leech has been active. Makhachev hasn't because of, his battle with COVID and everything like that. Hence why I just think Leech is going to get the job done. +2, I'm just going to stick with just that.
I believe it was our first episode when we talked about Chimaev because he beat Gerald Mershot. And that was Sergio's boy. And I believe you shit-talked him then, too, so I'm not surprised now. Also on this card, Alexander Volkov versus Marcin Tybura. I'm really looking forward to that one. I want to see if the length of Volkov or just the bulldog mentality of Tybura, which one's going to win out in that one. Ankalaev versus Ozdemir, another fantastic fight.
That's a good one.
Tukagov versus Ramos. Dure versus Kopylov, Zaleski dos Santos versus St. Denis. People don't know about Benoit St. Denis. Let me tell you, this guy's going to make an impact. Most people, he's not favored in this fight. None of the bookers know who he is. Look at this dude's resume and look at some of the fights on YouTube of this guy. He's going to make an impact and he's going to pull off the upset. I am sure of it. Another name I cannot pronounce, Michael Alexia Zuk. Versus Gamzatov, another undefeated fighter on his way up. Amir Khani versus Lerone Murphy. That's going to be a great test of is Lerone Murphy a real undefeated fighter or is he kind of like on paper because he hasn't really fought too many guys. Hu versus Petrosky. Isma Gulov versus Mustafaev. And then Ulanbekov versus Nascimento. Any of those other fights kind of stand out to you, Tim?
Love the Magomed Ankalaev versus Volkan Ozdemir fight. Vulcan is so technically sound. He just looks like sometimes he's stuck in second gear kind of thing of like, you are such a good striker. Why aren't you applying it? You know what I mean? He just looks like he's floating
almost like
sometimes.
a comma worthy, like where you expect him to win, then he doesn't, and then when you don't expect him to, he does.
Exactly. I'm picking Magomed Ankalaev. I think he's got so much potential, and he's such an aggressive fighter. I really like that fun style that he has. Yeah, the Magomed Ankalaev would be an official pick, but I think that's a great fight to keep your eye on.
Brandon, any other fights kind of stand out to you on that card before we get out of here?
Nah, man. You guys already talked about the fights I'm looking forward to. I'm really looking forward to that Dan Hooker fight, and I'm looking for your Hamza Chimaev fight as well.
I'm telling you, I think one of the fights that might steal the show, though, is that Volkov-Tybura fight. Big guys, slinging it around. Every time you see Volkov, it's almost like a 5-round war. This time 3 rounds, but Tybura has no backup in him. I'm really looking forward to that fight. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Tim, for joining us today. Even though he didn't watch some of the fights,
it was a busy combat day, man. It was a busy combat day.
Before we get out of here, Tim, explain to the people at home the difference between a check left hook and just a left hook.
Cool. Left hook is a left hook. Your shoulder and hip are going into it with your knee turned in. The check left hook. Unbelievable. This is going to sound stupid. It's the same thing. It's different timing. It's when your opponent is coming in on you to stop them being aggressive.
Like you said, it's the same thing.
You got it.
And the funny thing is, I've heard MMA fighters do that shit too. Like, who was it? It was the last time it was a big check left hook, and somebody was like, oh, it was Bisping. Bisping was on air, and he was just like, everybody calls this a check left hook. I don't know why it's a check. It's just a left hook.
It's just a left hook. Yeah, no.
When I was fighting, it was just a left hook. Now it's just a check left hook. It's just a left hook. And like Bisping went on like a 2 or 3 minute like diatribe on air, like during one of the fight nights.
He knows his stuff. He's right. No, he's right. It's just when it's a matter of if your opponent is moving in or they're moving still. If they're moving in, it's a check left hook because you're trying to stop the aggression.
Personally, I'm waiting for your next show. Instead of Calf Kick Sports, I'm waiting for your next show to be called Check Left Hook.
Man, wait till that Gaethje Chandler fight. I'm going to talk about left hooks so much.
Well, hopefully we'll have you back on. Of course, you can catch him and the mechanic every week from now on, right? You guys pretty much got your schedule down. You will be back next week.
We'll do 2 weeks. We'll do every 2 weeks because it's
every 2 weeks. Okay, cool. Yeah. That's less editing for me, so I appreciate that. But check it out. Kicking It with Tim and the Mechanic. Episode 2 drops tomorrow. Brandon, any final thoughts today?
Kayla Harrison, when you're done, please come to AEW and wrestle for the people so Mike can just see you kiss your biceps again.
Tim's the bigger fan than I am.
I am. Absolutely.
Also, you're fired from like professional wrestling because that was the worst promo I've ever seen Blade cut.
Nobody cut a promo. Oh my goodness.
For somebody who's talking about my billboard in Atlantic City, you want to get a name, you have to come through me. I'm the OG. And then you just cut a promo on Kayla Harrison. Like,
I did not cut a promo on Kayla Harrison. Stop trying to make like there's some beef between me and her.
Dude, I said I would like to see wrestling again. Before this, a beef between you and Kayla Harrison.
Tell you, I would like to see her in AEW. Sure, why not? Let her
First of all, I know she's kind of probably just staying in character and like talking shit about AEW. She said that Dan like dragged her and she like would never go back, and there's a bunch of nerds and like losers. First of all, I think, and she said it herself, if I ever chose to do wrestling, I would be great at it. I think she would. I think she would be phenomenal at professional wrestling, whether it's AEW, WWE, New Japan, and I don't care. She has such a personality for that business. Even I can't stand Paige Van Zandt. Sorry, Paige. You're a great competitor and you are awesome in the cage and in the ring. As a character, I can't stand you. But that's the point because you're playing a bad person. She's phenomenal.
She's doing her job.
She's phenomenal as a heel too. And she just kind of sicks Austin on anybody that like tries to talk shit to her. She's like, Austin, go get him. Go defend my honor. Even though she's probably the better fighter. But anyway, sorry, Austin, undefeated Bellator fighter. I'm just kidding. Please don't come kick my ass. I'm not in Tampa, Florida. It's fine. Anyway, gentlemen, anything else today before we wrap this up? All right. Well, for Tim Wheaton, the mechanic, Brandon Cuttino, another fantastic, fully entertaining, capable episode that you can find right here on the Fighters First Network, fightersfirst.shop. Check out everything. Check out all the latest goods and all the collections, including the mechanic up over there, who actually has one of the best collections on the shop. So go check it out. Check out the new Kickin' It shirt. Support both those guys over there. I think that's a wrap. I'm Mike Ginn. This is Art of MMA, and we're out.